Send it.
You ever think about how our way of life is sometimes like antithetical to liberty? Like, you ever felt trapped in a job? You ever felt like you could really do something well if you could just go do it on your own, but there were too many reasons you couldn't? It's too expensive to start your own business, you know? And the thing is, that's true a lot of the time. That's not just an excuse. That's not just being risk averse. I mean, you're trying to feed yourself and your family. It's tough to step out in faith that you're going to pull something off when you got mouths to feed. From the beginning of the U.S. Patent Office up until the mid '80s, a patent cost about the same as an average month's rent in the country. I believe in the mid '80s, before they started playing around with the stuff, it was about $350. Of course, there were requirements. You had to have your documents and your blueprints and all this stuff. But they made it where you pretty much have to have an infusion of corporate money to get a patent, which means it's very difficult for you to get patent all on your own unless you already have money you can throw around. And it doesn't sound like much money to some of these people, and I think that's part of the problem. It's like $29,000 to get the ball rolling on a patent these days. And $29,000, I mean, most working people I know can't just spend that, even if they have it. Might be everything. Um, and that puts a damper on American ingenuity. You understand that? That makes corporate control of American ingenuity a thing. But let's say I've invented the next great mousetrap or whatever, and I go to get a patent, and I'm like, man, I got the next best thing, but I can't afford this patent. And there's plenty of people I can go to for that kind of money, right? And they own half of it or whatever, or they own 75% of it, and all I get pretty much is a cut of the profit and no saying how it's produced or what companies do. There's a lot of things you can take and that can be taken out of your hands in a situation like that. And I'm sure there's ways you can insulate yourself from it, but again, you got to have a pretty good attorney, and that costs money too. Why is ingenuity cost prohibitive for the American working class? Why? What benefit comes with that? A slice of every pie for corporate America, for people with money. People who have everything already want more. And they have had enough influence in our government to, make changes, like always. And there have been times when we've pushed back really hard and got a little more for us. But always, always, always in American history, there's this growing entity. The wealthy want to own more, they want to have more. Um, and you have to remember that the origin of this country, the economic origins of this country, were based on free labor, which is a weird way to say that, isn't it? But that's the truth. And since the time of the Civil War, these people have been trying to find every way they could to keep our wages as low as possible and keep us chained to these jobs as much as possible. That's why healthcare has been attached to your job. So let's talk about some real stuff that a man can do just to start stepping out on its own. Um, if you have the next big invention, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if you've engineered something that could really sell, I mean, odds are you are going to have to wad yourself up in some corporate money to make it a thing. Or, hear me out, you could go around to the people you'd like to sell this to and ask for investment. Find out what kind of insurance you got to have. Find out, how much it's going to cost you to build these things, and then go to the people you want to sell it to and see if there's some kind of investment that they're willing to make as a group. And I'm not saying that's a way it's done. I mean, that's how it's done. You decide what you want to go do, and you go do it, right? But stop going to rich people with your hand out. Because if they put something in your hand, a lot of time that ties you to that and to them or whatever, and you lose your autonomy in things. And if you don't know what to do, but you just like to do something for yourself, well, don't go get a fucking job, man. If you want to work for yourself, work for yourself. And if it doesn't matter what you do, okay, here's an idea. You can buy old 3D printers all over Marketplace on Facebook now for $150 a piece. Go get one of those 3D printers. And these things right here, this bullshit with all that flimsy stuff on the neck and these gaskets everywhere and all this shit, no. We want to replace it with these. Make these with your 3D printer. Put your company logo in the print, like on the outside of like some kind of stamp or something. No need for any packaging. Take these around to every local mom and pop gas station you can drive to, and there's plenty of them out there, and see if they'll put them on the shelf and sell them for $8 a piece. You take 6, they get 2, just for having it on the shelf. It's a great deal for everybody. It's free enterprise. Are you breaking patent laws? No. Are you breaking any laws? No. What about all the taxes and all and LLC and all that stuff? I mean, if you want to limit your liability, yeah, you need a limited liability corporation. But if you don't have any real liability to concern yourself with, at the end of the year, you take your ledger of inventory and sales and all that stuff, and you hand it to your accountant and be like, hey, I run this on the side, right? But let's talk about what you could do. Let's talk about what kind of money we're looking at here. Okay, just you're selling those $8 a piece, right? But you got this old crappy 3D printer, man. It's only going to make 10 of these a week. Okay, and that's $6 a piece is what you're getting for, right? Okay, well, you build up inventory for 10 weeks, and then you go out there and you sell 100 of these things. That's $600. How many 3D printers can you get with that? It's 4. It's 4. Anyway, so you got 5 3D printers. Now you're making 50 of these things a week. You don't have to fucking build up inventory anymore. You're ahead of the game, right? Your circle gets wider. Your distribution circle gets wider. As long as you can keep up with the work you got to do, you're making money. And you're out of your mind if you think people won't buy these, right? Now, is that something you can make a living on? No. But it's something you could get some extra money out of while you're learning how to use that damn 3D printer. Maybe make something you're interested in making and selling online or something. I'm just saying it's that easy to come up with a way to start making money so that you can get out from under working for someone. Or if you're like me and you're retired and you just want something to do, shit, man. There's all kinds of things you can make. There's all kinds of things you can fix. I guarantee you nobody knows how to fix a washer, dryer, or dishwasher in your fucking neighborhood. Probably not in your town, if it's a small town. Learn to do that. I mean, there's any number of ways that a person can go out on their own and make a living, or at least make extra money, right? And if you only deal in cash, and if you know, work hard enough and do a good job, right? Uh, you'll make a little more. You're never gonna get the raise you deserve at the job you're at. You're never gonna be paid enough for your experience, your effort, your credentials, your education. There might be a small handful of people you know in whatever organization you're in that feel that they are um, perfectly compensated. But the reality is that wages move up slower than inflation, and they have for a long time. And that is, I mean, it's just not a sustainable way of life at this point. You know, they're saying that the baseline wage to be able to cover all your average living expenses in the state of Arkansas um, with one salary would be like $50 an hour. And the average salary in Arkansas is like $22 an hour, right? And you go look out in places like New Jersey where people are getting hit with like $1,100 light bills and shit, you know. I don't know what kind of money people would need to be able to sustain a household in a place with $1,100 light bills. But I bet you they're not making that much. And when you feel like you're working your ass off and you got a decent job or one of those good jobs I always tell you about, and you're not making enough money, and so you're looking at things to do on the side or whatever, just get an old 3D printer, man, and find something you want to sell. I will buy one of those spigot things, though, seriously. Anyway, but you have to ask yourself a few questions here. Like, why do you feel it's unsafe to work for yourself or to start a business or to go out on your own and try to make it? Why doesn't that feel like opportunity? I really truly believe a lot of that is headspace. I truly believe that for most of us, it is simply fear. Maybe, maybe a spouse isn't supportive of the idea. You know, there's a lot of things, but it all boils down to being so risk averse you don't try things. But there's a lot of money stuff in that. And that's where we got to be talking to legislators. That's where we got to be talking to our senators and our representatives and our local legislators as well, our state house legislators as well, about, hey, we got to start pushing for affordable patents. We got to start regulating private equity um, out of certain types of businesses because it's costing us jobs, right? We got to start looking at how stock buybacks cause wages to stagnate and put an end to that, right? But we also, we the people, got to stop acting like all of the problems are to be solved by this government and all of the problems can be solved by the right job, the right employer, the right attitude at work or whatever, right? Sometimes it is about how much effort you're willing to put in. Sometimes it is about um, really being sure you know what you need to know to dive off into a business. But a lot of the time, it's just a resignation to this life where I will work, I will retire, I will die. I will work, I will never save shit, I will get Social Security, and I will die. We are responsible for our communities, our neighbors, our households. We allowing these government types to make all of these rules that are bad for us. Um, we're responsible to fix it. A young person in this country should feel like there's an opportunity in stepping out on their own. A young person in this world should feel like, hey, I just learned a whole bunch of cool stuff and I'm going to go paint the town red, you know? But instead, they're hoping they can get a job they can stand for 30 years. Hoping they can save enough money to actually invest enough money to actually make some real money someday. Hoping their 401k isn't tied to anything that bursts, pops, or sinks. You hear a lot about who built America and how, all that jazz. You need to remember something. It was the labor force, it was the working people that built America. Maybe they didn't finance it. Capital has its place, and capitalists will always profit. Make no mistake, and do not concern yourself with their well being all that much. That's theirs to concern themselves with. You got to be concerned with you. And if you live in a world where you do not feel confident in going out tomorrow and starting that business you always wanted to start, buying that restaurant you always wanted to buy, doing that thing you always wanted to do, because of all the risks to you and the people you care about, man, I get it. I'm not downplaying that fear at all. But you got to look at what's causing that fear and what those obstacles are, and you got to really take a hard look and see if it's something the government needs to help you with, because it's a true obstacle that shouldn't be there. Maybe it's too much for a permit for a certain kind of thing. Maybe it's whatever. But you reach out to those people and you start hammering on them. Hey man, remove this obstacle. I want to take an opportunity, and there's a roadblock that I can't get over or around, and you have to fix. And if the guy tells you, well, the border's closed and I've outlawed Chinese vapes and, we're rounding up illegals. Cool story, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? If you call a local councilman or a state representative or a, U.S. rep or senator and you say, hey man, there's this obstacle in my way hindering my ability to participate in free enterprise fully. And their answer is anything but, yes, this is what I'm doing to work on that. Or, man, I didn't know this was a problem. Let me look into that real good and we'll make contact with you again. If you don't get one of those two answers, why would you re-elect them? And now we're coming to my point. Why do any of these people deserve to be reelected? Governor, state rep, state senate, U.S. House and Senate, president, dog catcher, city councilman. All of these people are acting like it doesn't make a single fuck what we want. You see this shit with cannabis down in Texas the other day? You just had the state legislature and the state governor make a law, like profoundly against the will of the people, so that they could put more people in prison because of the investments they all have in the corrections industry. When are we going to start burning down state houses? I don't know, right? I don't want any kind of violence in this country. Don't take that too seriously. But I mean, like, at what point do we get a little bit emphatic And hell, we hadn't even taken step one yet. People are talking about civil war and revolution and all this bullshit. We hadn't even taken step one in a civil manner yet. We haven't voted to fire all of them yet. We can skip that step and go straight to bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. But it does occur to me, if you take the steps in the right order, you can skip some of the bullshit. And right now we need to elect Democrats to office. But hear me out. This is going to go straight to their head, and they're going to think, well, it's a blue wave. See, everybody wants to be a Democrat because it's what the fucking Republicans did too. And the name of the game is, if they're in the office and life isn't better, fire them. Period. I don't care about their party. Do you really care what political party they're from? Yeah, the Democrats like the trans kids. And shut the fuck up. I told you, none of this shit at this table. Yeah, the Democrats give away too much money to programs that need it. And the Republicans give away too much money to the military-industrial complex. Yeah, the Democrats are liberal. They're progressive. They want things to change. And I'm going to tell you something to all you right-leaning people. Vote for a Democrat this time. Your life will get better. And the next time you decide to vote for a Republican, pick one that wants to make something different than it is. Pick one that wants to make something better. There's nothing in the world that says that a Republican can't also be progressive. Well, except for the people who run the Republican Party. You don't have to be a socialist to understand that universal health care is a good thing. It will be cheaper for us. The people who are resisting that and the people who are telling you to resist that, they're getting money from the pharmaceutical industry and the bizarre thing that our medical industry has become. Just remember this. Did you know that law firms are protected from private equity investment? Hospitals aren't protected like that. Factories aren't protected like that. Law firms. Anyway, the point is that there are a lot of things in place to keep very wealthy people safe. And there are less and less things in place to keep us safe, including healthcare. Let's talk about the national security threat that our existing power grid is. Like, we've got these companies that are doing all this shit and making all this money and jacking up our rates, and oil is making our rates go up and all this stuff. But when's the last time your grid got upgraded? You have to consider that a national buyout of utilities is actually in the strategic best interest of all of us. Because immediately tax dollars start getting poured into, but without all those corporate layers and contractors and all that bullshit in between, like for the best price, we can get an upgrade. And also, it's a national security asset. Yeah, I like my air conditioning and shit, but come on. That's the stuff people blow up when they attack a country, right? So you want it to be secure. You don't want it to be part of some weird shell game people play with money and stuff. And we need it. Right? So it's a public utility. It's a public service thing. It should be publicly funded. I'm not saying rip those people off or anything. I'm saying that just we should publicly, that the states should come up with some way to buy that and make that a state-owned asset. Is that straight up socialism? Yeah, I guess. But do you understand why it makes sense to do that from a national security standpoint, from a public utility standpoint, from a stabilize the economy standpoint even? doesn't mean I'm like, hey, let's go, burn down the Capitol or whatever communist shit you think I'm up to over here. I mean, I'm just saying, we got to do some things that make sense, even if they're not making anybody a profit. Speaking of, should a local hospital in a rural community turn a profit in order to stay open? I mean, it's a community asset. It brings value and security to the community. Why would you close down a hospital and make people drive further in distress? I mean, I guess that's socialism, if you want to call it that. But to me, it's just like, hey, we got to start thinking of something besides fucking money here. We got to start thinking of people. We got to start thinking about the most cost-effective way to use tax dollars to take care of people. And that's not been done. I'm not claiming any kind of superiority on the side of the Democrats for that. But we gotta start somewhere. And voting for a Republican right now is dangerous. The Secretary of Defense said if we had a patriotic press, they would say less stuff he disagrees with or something, right? I mean, you understand how utterly fucking dangerous that is. We have to end this particular batch of bullshit and simultaneously start working on fixing our real problems. And that's going to be a convoluted mess. And there's going to be a lot of rumor and stuff floating around. There's going to be all this shit said, but our press is compromised. And truthfully, our current Congress is compromised. The president's compromised. We are in actual fucking danger here, folks. And I don't know what it looks like. Sanctions from other countries, isolation economically. I have no idea. But I know that those things are coming if we continue down this road because everyone on the planet is pissed off at us. So we collectively just kind of need to get our shit together. And the first step of that is to vote against incumbents. And honestly, you need to do it for the next 3 elections straight. For sure. But also, we've got to be reaching out to our congressmen and to anybody that's running for office and say, hey, are you tracking this issue that we have, doing this thing that we need to do? Are you tracking these obstacles to ingenuity? Are you tracking these obstacles to starting your own business? Are you tracking the problems that all of this insurance regulation creates? And you can't even really prove that insurance solves a fucking problem in most of these cases. Are you tracking my real problems? Or are you going to spit the party line at me? And if they're listening, if they're doing their job, you'll be able to tell, and you'll know beyond a shadow of a doubt when it's time to re-elect somebody. But my guess is that won't be for a while. And part of the problem is too many people are willing to rehire a guy like Tom Cotton, willing to rehire a guy like Chuck Schumer. If we continue to stifle our ingenuity, and if we continue to undereducate our children, and if we continue to struggle with healthcare costs and health issues, we will never be great. But if you will 3D print me one of those spigot things, that'd be fucking awesome. Y'all have a good one.